Don Mazzella here again for Small Business Digest. You know, we all think we're great managers till we start to lose people. We have with us today someone, Bonnie Lou Kramer, Kramen, Kramen, right? Uh,
Bonnie Low Kramen.
who's going to talk about the good and the bad in managers and maybe ways we can learn. Bonnie, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Don. Thanks for having me. I'm
Well,
I'm delighted to be here.
Well, we're delighted to have you because God knows I've had some terrible bosses in my long career. I've had some good ones. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Great. My company is called Ultimate Assistant Training and Consulting. For 25 years, I worked as the personal assistant to Oscar-winning actress Olympia Dukakis, and she was famous for her film Moonstruck, for which she won an Academy Award, and she was in the film Steel Magnolias and Mr. Holland's Opus. In a million years, I never thought that we would last for 25 years. And no one stays in a job for 25 years unless there are some very strong elements in place. And that's what we're here to talk about today. I learned a lot about working with people from Olympia. I grew up in New Jersey. I live in Florida now, but I am a Jersey girl and went to Rutgers University. Began my career thinking I was going to be an actress, but very quickly realized that my talents and skills would be much better used behind the scenes and making a show. I just knew I needed to be in show business though. And so my career really began very unauspiciously in a theater box office, selling tickets. But you know what? I loved the work. I loved it. I got to meet actors and directors and the people who, lighting, costumes, hair, all of that. And that was all very exciting to me. And it served me right up to this day.
Hmm. That's interesting. Where did you grow up in New Jersey?
I graduated from Belleville High School up in Essex County, and then for many years lived down in Edison, New Jersey, in the New Brunswick area, Central Jersey, it's considered.
Hmm.
It sounds like you know Jersey.
I was born and raised in Newark.
Oh, there you go. So then you know Belleville
Oh,
for sure.
until he died just recently, my cousin lived in Belleville all his life. But I
Oh
can
my
tell,
gosh.
anyway, we can reminisce, but that's not going to help our audience.
Yeah,
But do you have a website?
I do. My website is my name, BonnieLowKramen.com. I have a lot of resources on the website, lots of free resources that support both the business owners and the assistants who are supporting them. In my view, especially in the post-pandemic workplace, there's many aspects of this workplace that are broken right now. And it is going to take intentionality about fixing what's broken, and no one group, not the leaders, not the assistants, not HR, not recruiters, can solve it alone. We're going to need to collaborate and cooperate with one another. That's what the future is going to look like, Don.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. But unfortunately, executive assistants are a dying breed, it seems to me. People simply don't want to spend the money for somebody that can organize and keep their lives on track. And that's at least was my view of things.
Well, there have been some media articles around that, and perhaps you can tell me how is it that you've come to believe that. But what I see is that, of course, that the tech sector has lost a lot of jobs recently, but I'm contacted by recruiters weekly who are having trouble hiring high-level executive assistants. Don, from where I sit, it doesn't matter who you are. We only all get 24 hours in a day. And your executives, celebrities, C-suite leaders, they are human beings who want a human being to be organizing and addressing their preferences and their needs. There's all this talk about how artificial intelligence is going to replace people. I'm sure you remember some years ago when it was being talked about that Siri and Alexa were going to replace people. They didn't. AI were tools. They're really cool tools that executive assistants are using. I see that lower level receptionist type positions are being removed, and there has been movement in there. However, at the mid to upper level, companies are still hiring executive assistants. They may be supporting more than one person, but what is needed, I'm seeing, and my students, the people in my workshops they are overloaded with work. They are quickly burning out, which is a problem, and business owners need to know about this. And there are plentiful jobs. So I see that there is movement in the profession, but at this moment, leaders are still wanting a flesh and blood executive assistant to help them organize their life.
In my view, the problem is the title, executive assistant. If someone would come up with a different title, because given this woke movement and everything else, I've had women in our focus groups say, "I don't want to be classified as an assistant." But
Yeah, there is an issue with the word assistant, and my first book is called Be the Ultimate Assistant. Words are really important. We know that words matter. Um, the term secretary is pretty much phased out, but it's still used in the legal profession. It's still used in the public school system. Word assistant is being phased out in a lot of companies for exactly the reason you're citing. And so they're coming up with management associate, um, management administrator, uh, senior project manager. The role has a lot to do with management and leadership, and the term assistant is being hurt by the obsolete perception of that role. So that is another way that the role is most definitely in transition right now.
I couldn't agree more. All I know is that a good person that works hand in glove with an executive can make all the difference in the world, in my view.
And that it sounds like you're talking from personal experience.
Of course, we have a friend of ours who was the first woman to become a partner in a uh, a hedge fund, one of the largest hedge funds in the world, and she started as a secretary. There are numerous opportunities, examples of secretaries
Yes.
rising, because what do they say? Send a woman and she will do twice the job, and
Well, they
and
see and hear everything in the role of as an assistant. It is a front row seat for all the activities in a company. In 2023, my challenge to the assistants of the world is now it's important to be the voice. It's now important to be the mouth and to truly function. The big term that's being talked about these days is strategic business partner. And that in this role, the role is still 95 to 97% female. So we're talking about a majority of women who are taking their seat at the leadership team table. They have their seat at the table, they have a voice, their opinions are desired, and they are privy to the decisions. They're on the front lines of those decisions. In my new book, Staff Matters, I urge leaders to look towards their staff, and chapter 4 is called Ask First, Don. Ask first. Before making major decisions that impact a lot of people at a company, in a company that's large or small, a leader would do very well to at least ask the opinion of the people they hired so painstakingly hired in the first place, because it's not only what assistants do in their job description, but it's what they know and who they know. Because I ask assistants, is it true that people will say things to you as the assistant that they would never
Never
say
say.
to your executive? And that's a big fat yes. There's lots of nodding heads. And that was certainly true when I worked with Olympia Dukakis. I knew this firsthand. You know what's interesting, Don? When I do presentations for quite a while with leaders, I will ask them, describe to me the worst manager you ever had. And the reaction is instant. And I'm sure it would be for you too. You can instantly summon that person and the kinds of things that made them a bad manager. And then I'll ask the opposite question is, tell me about the best manager you ever had. And most people say that those people are in the minority, that most of the managers they've had were in the bad category. They can instantly summon what the good ones, what they did that mattered to them, that made them so good. And you know what? We remember those people. We remember the bad and the good. But it's instant, isn't it? I'll bet that would happen to you too.
I'm looking at him right now. I have a picture of him on my desk.
No kidding.
No, oh, no kidding. He made me cry. My first full-time editor. He made me cry twice, and I was a brash young reporter, and he made me uh, cry twice. But in the end, he made me a good enough reporter to be a prize winner. But we I couldn't agree with you more. We all,
Yeah.
but let's not talk about me. Let me bring up three
Okay.
issues. The first
Go
one,
ahead.
you have a book.
I
What's the
do.
book called?
I do. The book is Staff Matters. It is people-focused solutions for the ultimate new workplace. And for this book, which is 423 pages, it's quite a document here. I decided, Don, that I have a lot of management and leadership books in my collection, and I suspect you do too. Most of those books are written by leaders about leaders. They do not
No.
talk about in any real detail people who they're supposedly leading. So in this book, I interviewed over 1,500 people, not only leaders, but the support staff, HR professionals, recruiters, and business school professors. And I call them the constituencies of the workplace. These are the people who are comprising this stew of activity in this post-pandemic world about what this looks like. And I interviewed them, and their words, their stories, their case studies are in this book to explore what's broken, because aspects of this workplace are broken, like onboarding systems, disaster plans, job descriptions are woefully obsolete and overly generic. The world is moving far faster than the human ability to keep up with what's gone on. And therefore, the fix is, the antidote is that leaders must turn to their staff for the solutions. The anxiety and the stress caused by the pandemic is still very, very high. And it's high among the leaders, the business owners, and the staff. So we must collaborate and cooperate with one another in order to take a fresh look at what is happening right now in 2023 in order to be able to move forward into the remainder of the decade in a smarter way. Now that we have the hybrid, remote, virtual work, nobody prepared any of us for what's happened, right?
I couldn't agree with you more. But since where can people get the book? From your website?
Well, yes, on homepage of my website, bonnielokramen.com, but Amazon.com. It is currently in soft cover, an ebook. We're planning the audio book. It is I write about burning issues that are slowing people down, Don, and stopping them dead in their tracks. I write about it with detail about bullying, workplace bullying, and toxic work environments, sexual harassment. I
Uh,
have a whole chapter called Sex, which is about gender differences in the workplace. But the experience that a woman has in the workplace is very different than how a man experiences workplace. And I talk about the other genders as well. It's very important that a book about this current workplace addresses not only the diversity of gender, but diversity in ethnicity. Um, people of different ages and colors. We must talk about that. I also write in very clear terms about money. That's one of the biggest chapters, and about the wage gap that exists in the workplace and how human resources is deciding how to pay people and what that looks like in 2023. These are the issues that are preoccupying the staff. And if you're preoccupied with, not being able to pay your bills, or you're being preoccupied with being bullied, Don, I would argue that it's not possible to do great work when people are feeling preoccupied by those toxic things.
well, even you're absolutely right, and I'll go to the one that always gets my audience, which is sex, because just 2 days ago, I found out that a boss here in a local company uh, paddles his secretary every Friday, and she puts up with it.
What? Wait a minute. In the United States,
Paddles, takes her over his knee and paddles her.
you're
I kid you not, in this day and age.
okay, kind of speechless about that. Now, I have heard in the Middle East of a situation where a leader demands that an assistant bow or get on a knee when they enter the room out of respect, and that's a cultural thing, which is
Yeah.
still bizarre and really wild. But in the United States, I wish I was be able to talk with that assistant, and that is such a lawsuit. I can't even begin to wrap my mind around what you just said.
I'm 2 days later. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it. Okay, uh, but but I'll turn.
If
I
you put me in touch with her, if you have a way,
no.
I
You have to
volunteer.
no. You have to understand. Someone in the company found this out and happened to be talking to me. I mean, what can I say? I've been a good reporter for a good long time, so that one came out recently. I have you stunned, I think.
It's kind of speechless. It's there's so much wrong with that it if it's true, um, then I worry about who else is being affected by this, because the data is clear that when one person is being sexually harassed, when one person is being bullied,
Yeah,
then multiple people are being impacted by this. I
yeah,
mean, Harvey Weinstein is in jail right now for assaulting over 100 women. Um, Cosby was in jail, but he's released now, and he raped over 63 women. It's what's happening in our workplace is these behaviors traumatize people, and not just for the day it happens, but for decades and forever. And I'm deeply concerned about how many people are being impacted by those behaviors.
What surprises me always is when you see these big men with big jobs losing their job because they're stupid enough to have a consensual affair, let alone
It's
uh,
arrogance. Don't you think it's arrogance, Don? That
I
they
have
feel
no.
like that there are no rules, that the rules do not apply to them, or that they are arrogant enough to think that they will never be found out.
Yet the other side of this thing is if a woman moves from, let's say, an executive assistant to a line role, she's immediately tarnished with she must have slept with somebody to get that role.
Yes, not
And,
okay. The double
and even
standard,
in,
you're talking about the double standard that exists, and that's in
yeah,
the chapter called sex.
mhm,
100%.
yeah. Well,
It,
whether it's true or not is immaterial. Um, it's a perception. No matter what that woman does,
right.
there will always be she got there because she slept with the big
Well,
boss.
the more women who get elevated to positions of power, the less that will be the case. It's a numbers game, but still at this moment, there's still too few female leaders as CEOs and in high level positions. We have work to do in that way. There's a leadership gap, and the data is clear that a more diverse leadership is a stronger one, more innovative, more creative. So there's a lot of good reason to have women, diverse set of
Yeah.
people
But yet,
in leadership, but we're not there yet.
let me turn. I have to tell you, my wife is a Harvard MBA,
Okay,
so but I'll turn
so
it
you hang
around.
out with smart women.
Oh, all my life. But but turn it around. Do women executives do the same for people, women moving up the ranks? In my experience,
Not enough.
not they don't seem to. I made it, but I'm not going to help you make it. I've seen that more than I've seen the other thing. Uh,
Yeah. The socialization, which I talk about in the chapter on sex, is that women as young girls are trained to be competitive with one another and to view one another as adversaries. And until something or someone comes along to break that socialization, it's really deeply ingrained in women. And that's why I see it as part of my mission is to write about it in
mm.
Staff Matters and
I'm going to
also in
interrupt you here.
workshops.
I'm going to interrupt you only because we're running out of time. Your book
Okay.
again for our people, for our audience.
Yes, thank you, Don. Staff Matters, people-focused solutions for the ultimate new workplace. I urge you to check it out, read about it on Amazon. Uh, my goal is to address the issues that are holding your staff back, and advice for small business owners with 100 or less employees. Uh, include the ways you're going to retain people and to have a smooth running operation is to create clear job descriptions, create and set very clear expectations, give regular feedback so that there are no surprises. At the yearly review, give regular feedback, acknowledge your people when they do great work and to, celebrate their successes and support them to learn and grow, which means investment in professional development opportunities. If leaders do that, if you get onto it and to view your staff as the golden resource they are, a natural resource, you've hired them, then use them, fully leverage them. That's what they want.
Well, let me ask you this question. Um, uh, Small businesses are notorious for having differing pay scales for men and women. Uh, what do you say to that point?
I say that if small business owners believe that their staff doesn't know what people are making, they're wrong. And therefore, a leader's smartest move is to be transparent about it and to do their best within their means to level the playing field so that, if you're looking to attract talented females, then it will be important for them to know that they are being paid competitively with the men on the staff. Because staff knows when things aren't fair. And when they see that there's an inequity and no accountability and no desire for leaders to do the right thing, and make it more equitable, then they're looking for an exit strategy. it's the quickest way to lose people is to set an unfair playing field where women feel it's a lose-lose. They say, well, they don't care about me. Why should I care about them? I'm out.
One last thought you'd like to share with our audience?
Yes. I am about building ultimate partnerships in this new workplace. We have a volatile workplace in motion with staff who are frightened. They're frightened to speak up. They see and hear everything. They see solutions, but they don't feel psychologically safe in many cases to speak to their leaders about what they're seeing. And leaders are making decisions without full information. So my biggest message is to business owners is to please have one-on-one conversations with your staff to make them feel safe to tell you what's really going on in the company because your staff matters.
With that note, Bonnie Lou Kamen, and we say thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Don. Good luck.